This is the story of the most anticipated matchup in women's MMA history, a fight that was supposed to happen over a decade ago, that the UFC tried and failed to make, and that is finally locked in for May 16, 2026 on Netflix, promoted by Jake Paul. Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, two pioneers, two legends, and a combined retirement gap that stretches back nearly 2 decades. Here's how we got here, why this fight matters, and what's actually at stake. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to go back to where women's MMA actually started, and Gina Carano's name is right there at the beginning. In 2006, she competed in the first Nevada-sanctioned MMA bout between women, which means before there was a UFC women's division, before female fighters headlined major cards. Carano was already in the cage making it happen. 7 wins and 1 loss later, she'd become a legitimate television draw for the sport, and helped put women's MMA in front of audiences that had never paid attention to it before. That one loss came in August 2009, when Cris Cyborg stopped her by TKO in a fight for the inaugural Strikeforce Women's 145-pound title, and that turned out to be the last time Carano competed. She walked away from fighting and built a second career in Hollywood. 17 years passed between that 2009 fight and her name appearing on a marquee again. While Carano was building a film career, a judoka from Los Angeles was just getting started on a path that would change the sport entirely. Ronda Rousey won a bronze medal at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, becoming the first American woman to win an Olympic medal in judo, and 3 years later she turned professional in MMA. The Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Championship came in 2012, and then on February 23, 2013, she stepped into the UFC octagon at UFC 157, submitted Liz Carmouche in the first round, and became the UFC's inaugural women's bantamweight champion, the first female fighter the organization had ever signed. What followed was one of the most dominant stretches any fighter had ever put together. 6 consecutive title defenses, 11 of her first 12 fights ended in round 1, and a title defense streak so compressed that she holds one of the fastest such runs in UFC history. Nikisa Badarian, who would later become her promoter, described it this way: Rousey sold 50,000 plus tickets to a single event and generated millions of pay-per-views. She didn't just compete at the top of her sport, she became the sport for a lot of people. And throughout every one of those title defenses, the fight everyone kept asking about was Rousey versus Carano. The UFC reportedly made numerous high-profile attempts to bring Carano back, with 2014 being the most notable push, and none of them worked. The fight the fans wanted simply never got made. Then came 2 nights that reshaped everything. November 14, 2015, at UFC 193 in Melbourne, Australia, Holly Holm knocked Rousey out in the second round and ended the undefeated streak that had defined her career. The aftermath proved harder than the loss itself, and in February 2016, Rousey appeared on The Ellen DeGeneres Show and disclosed that she had considered suicide following the Holm fight. She came back on December 30, 2016, at UFC 207, and Amanda Nunes stopped her in 48 seconds. That night turned out to be the last time Rousey competed in MMA. Induction into the UFC Hall of Fame came in 2018, when she became the first female inductee, and from there Rousey signed with WWE and went on to win the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship twice, and the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. 3 world championships in professional wrestling for anyone keeping count. In a 2022 conversation with Daniel Cormier, she explained why she kept fighting even when the desire was gone. When I got to that point where I didn't want it anymore, I kept doing it for everybody else. That 2016 UFC fight sits 9 years in the past now, which is where the timeline for this comeback begins. The fight getting made at all involved a detour that says a lot about where the sport stands right now. Rousey went to Dana White and the UFC first, according to Yahoo Sports reporting, and that path didn't open up. What happened next was a call to Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian at Most Valuable Promotions, and from there the pieces came together quickly. MVP had spent the previous 2 years building a combat sports brand on Netflix exclusively around boxing, putting on events featuring Mike Tyson, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, and others. And this fight represents the promotion's first step into MMA entirely. The announcement landed in February 2026, and the details are these. May 16, 2026, at Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California, 5 5-minute rounds at featherweight, 145 pounds, which was Carano's old weight class. Professionally sanctioned under the unified rules of MMA, streamed live on Netflix, and marking the first professional MMA event the platform has ever carried. MVP's joint statement put it plainly. MVP has always been driven by disruption and delivering the biggest moments in combat sports on a global scale, and today we are officially bringing that energy to MMA for the first time. Both fighters addressed the announcement in their own way, and what Carano revealed made the story a little more personal than a standard promotional announcement. Rousey's words were direct. Been waiting so long to announce this. Me and Gina Carano are going to throw down in the biggest super fight in women's combat sport history. This is for all MMA fans past, present, and future. Carano disclosed that Rousey came to her personally, saying, Ronda came to me and said there is only one person she would make a comeback for, and it has been her dream to make this fight happen between us. She thanked me for opening up doors for her in her career and was respectful in asking for this fight to happen. This is an honor. I believe I will walk out of this fight with the win, and I anticipate it will not come easy, which I welcome. Her coach, John Wood of Syndicate MMA, confirmed the training had already been underway for some time before the public announcement, putting it this way.
I got a call a few months ago that she wanted to get back in shape and get back at it and have a little itch to scratch and see where it went. I said absolutely. None of this exists with real questions attached to it, and the skeptics have a reasonable case to make. Rousey turns 39 before fight night. Ronda will be 44 years old when she walks to the cage, competing for the first time in 17 years. Yahoo Sports described the matchup as fitting the freaks raw aspect of Jake Paul's broader combat sports brand, and that framing isn't entirely unfair given the retirement gaps involved. The argument that this is spectacle more than elite athletic competition has merit, and the people making it aren't wrong to raise it.